I am so happy with how this looks for the Rangers. We have a pitcher, Jack Leiter, and he is a dude.
And while I do think his hitting is worse than Derek Jeter, it's not that far off.
You're not mentioning 2006. You can mention the other people, not 2006.
Oh, just because I bought the best soap doesn't mean your room's going to be clean. It just leaves it to where I don't believe that the Canadians had a shot.
I really don't like the Clippers just kind of sending it in when they're like...
Hi, this is Kelly Forbes with the Dallas Stars, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. We have some very important games where they could affect our in-out maybe chances. Make sure to check out that video. And if you want to stay updated on our videos, check out our Twitter or our Instagram, OO_podcast, I believe, for our Twitter. But let's get right to the video. We're going to talk about the NHL playoff races, specifically with the wild card. And the man that has the hardest slap shot with sports opinions, Austin.
That's a big one. That's a title I'm glad I hold, at least in your mind. But there's some big games. One going on as we're recording this video between Calgary and Winnipeg. Calgary has one more game played than Winnipeg, but if Calgary can win this game, while they don't control their own destiny, they're definitely sitting much nicer than they would be if they lose it.
Yes, and this is Calgary's been near the bottom of the playoff race, while Winnipeg, I think, was pretty sure during the half point of the season or the All-Star game, Winnipeg was almost had the best record in the West, because I know it was between Bonus and DeBauer for who would coach the Central. Or no, it must have been the Central Division.
Yeah, they were close to the Central Division top, but I guess that was kind of close to the league top, because at the halfway point, Dallas was ahead of Vegas in that category. But now Dallas, Avalanche, and the Wild are all tied at 98 points, all three of those teams. Ooh. The Avalanche have one less game played than the rest, but we're not here to talk about that. The only other team that's kind of close in the West, or close enough to make an impact if they get hot, is Nashville. So Winnipeg has 89 points, Calgary has 87 points, Nashville 86. Who do you have as a one spot? Who do you think gets it?
Ooh, that one's tough. I'm going to go with Winnipeg because I know Calgary's played one more game. But I think Winnipeg, with Bonus, they still have that grit mindset. And I think they'll be able to sneak in.
Yeah, I just think they're also the better team. If I look at the roster, I'm more confident in the defense, offense, and everything else that is necessary for you to win a game. And right now, 10 minutes into the first period, it's still 0-0, so it figures to be a good game between those two. I would say Nashville probably has a better chance than Calgary, though, getting in, because Nashville has one less games played than Calgary. Same amount as Winnipeg, but they've been playing well as of late. They've played some impressive games, and tomorrow, as we're recording this, they play against Carolina. So that's really, if they can win that game against a premier opponent, that would be huge towards their chances.
Yeah, you were talking about Nashville plays Carolina?
Yes, tomorrow.
Okay, and the Flames could pull it off if they're able to beat the Jets today, because then they face the Canucks, the Predators, which would be a huge matchup for Nashville and Calgary, and then the Sharks. So that looks like a pretty easy schedule. I'm not sure what Winnipeg's schedule is.
I have Winnipeg pulled up. Let me go to that tab real quick. So Winnipeg has Calgary, Nashville, San Jose, and then tough games to end it out between Minnesota and Colorado. But if Winnipeg just gets the two games against Nashville and Calgary, I mean, they could probably kill their opponents before they even get close enough to take them out.
That's true. Yeah, we'll have to see. That's very interesting.
And I'll go over Nashville right quick just to mention them as well. So they have Carolina tomorrow, and then Winnipeg, Calgary, Minnesota, Colorado as well. So they ended up in Minnesota, Colorado, just like the Jets. But the Jets, Calgary, and Nashville all play each other once. So Nashville plays Calgary once and Winnipeg once. Winnipeg plays both of those teams once. And I think if one team ends up sweeping that series, going 2-0, whatever team that is, I think that's the team that will end up making the playoffs because they're so close that 2 games against one team and getting an advantage against those other teams that are very close, it will be huge coming into the season.
Yeah, if I had to look, I would say Calgary has the easiest schedule, and then Nashville is the hardest one.
Yeah, it's really close between. I guess it's not because of the Carolina game. The Carolina game
Yeah.
really puts it into perspective, but we don't really know how hard Carolina's going to be trying. No, they need to try because they're close enough to the Devils. So, yeah, they're going to be. I guess. What do you say?
The final game, because it is Carolina, and then Winnipeg and Nashville both face Wild and Avalanche, and I know they're competing. We've talked about it before, but that could be a home ice advantage for either of those teams.
Yeah, and we can't ignore the fact that you're probably, if at least if you're in the Jets' perspective, because if Seattle ends up losing some games, you want to play Colorado, Dallas, or Minnesota over Vegas, who right now is playing some of the best hockey they have all season. So there's still some important games, even if the Jets end up clinching a playoff spot relatively soon.
Yeah, but I think that's good enough on the West. We can head over to the East.
Sounds good. So there's 3 teams here: Florida at 87, Islanders at 87, and Pittsburgh at 86. The only difference between the East and the West here is that there's 2 spots available here in the East, while in the West there's just 1. So who do you like in this?
I'm gonna go Florida, and then I'll say Pittsburgh.
I like that. I like that choice mainly because Florida has been getting a lot of help from Tkachuk after making that trade. Tkachuk right now is heating up, trying to will them in. And while Sorokin's doing all he can for the Islanders, I like the experience of the Penguins. So I'll agree with you here and say Penguins and Islanders are the teams that will make it through.
Okay. Yeah, Pittsburgh, I just think with Crosby, they're able to still sneak into the playoffs. I'm not sure how well they'll do once the playoff starts, but Islanders, to me, they just miss that firepower, that offensive powerhouse.
Yeah. And here's the remaining schedule for Pittsburgh. So all these teams have played. Let me check again, actually. I believe all of them have played the same amount of games. Yes, all of them are at 78 games. Pittsburgh's schedule remaining. They play Detroit. Okay, no, they play Minnesota tomorrow on Thursday. Detroit, Chicago, Columbus. So Detroit, Chicago, Columbus. At least Chicago, Columbus. Those are not good teams. Detroit is an okay team, a team that's not going to make the playoffs. So they should win at least 3 of those games and maybe lose to Minnesota because Minnesota's still trying to wrap up the 1 seed in their division. So I think they at least go 3-1.
And then I have the Islanders one pulled up. They face the Lightning tomorrow. Then the Flyers, Capitals, and the Canadians.
Okay, so that's a pretty easy schedule as well.
Well, yeah. It's just with the 2 schedules gone over so far, you have the Wild, which I believe is the Panthers schedule, correct?
No, they play the Wild, Detroit, Chicago, Columbus. That's Pittsburgh. Let me pull up the Panthers right now. The Panthers play Ottawa, Washington, Toronto, Carolina. So they have 2 hard games and 2 relatively easy games, while Pittsburgh, I believe, has 1 hard game, 3 relatively easy games.
About the Islanders.
Yeah, 1 hard game. Yeah, 1 hard game, 3 easy games.
Yeah.
So I guess Panthers have the toughest schedule left because they should beat Ottawa and Washington, but Toronto and Carolina are still in the mix there because you want to get as many points as possible just in case you play a team in the later rounds that you have the advantage in points. So I'd imagine that Toronto's still going to be trying hard. So
yeah, it's really tough for the Panthers, but I'm still going to stick with my pick. And then Buffalo could go on a miracle run a la St. Louis for baseball.
Yeah, I mean, that would be in my favor since my in out maybe Buffalo is in, but I'm not looking too great in that category just yet. So we'll have to see once that comes around.
You win some and lose some. There's no ties because this is a hockey episode.
there is no ties. They completely eliminated that. That was a thing, but no longer is.
Yes. I believe that's all we got. Do you want to give one final update on Winnipeg and Calgary?
Sure. The Jets just scored. There's 7:24 left in the first. Kyle Connor scored from Nate Ellers and Pierre-Luc Dubois. So it's, I guess, going to Winnipeg's favor, which is something that we already predicted
Yes.
before they scored.
And it's going in our favor. That's all we got. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.